Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SETI Alpha 3, Star Trek podcast here on the Nerd Party Network. I'm your host, Daniel Prue, and joining me as always are my co-hosts, Darren and Philip. Guys, we complain a lot about the climate here on SETI Alpha 3, but it is not as terrible as what we see on Rura Penthe, right? Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, Darren is just wearing shorts the whole time, so...
I mean, it's oh man, it's down to 64, guys. It's really chilly out. I got to put a light jacket on.
Yeah, I'm sure it's real rough.
I know, unless we throw around terms like polar vortex, is it really that bad?
I wouldn't think so, but maybe we'll get into that. Yeah, so let's. I guess an introduction is in order, right? So this past week here, as a recording, we lost the great Christopher Plummer. And I thought, what better way to honor him and his memory than to watch his contribution to Star Trek, because I've never seen him in anything else. And
you've never seen The Sound of Music?
You've never seen Knives Out?
Nope, never seen Knives Out.
I've seen Knives Out as well. That was good.
Ever seen The Insider?
Nope.
Well, you know, you haven't seen Christopher Plummer until you've seen him in his original Klingon.
I do know he was a voice for a character in Skyrim as well.
Oh.
A video game which is near and dear to my heart, but that's neither here nor there on this podcast. Yes, so of course he played General Chang, and I thought, let's talk Star Trek 6 because I love Star Trek 6, and why not, right? So we all watched Star Trek 6. How long's it been? When was the last time you guys saw Star Trek 6? Can you remember?
I usually watch it after watching 5. Like if someone forces me to watch 5, I just watch 6
We do.
because
Who
I gotta
would force
cleanse
you to
the
watch
palate.
5?
You guys do for posterity's sake or something. But no, it's a fun one to pop in. It's so self-contained. Like I feel like if I watch 2, I got to watch 3. You know,
and then 4,
and then 4, and then 4 is right there.
and then 5.
So it's like,
got to find out what happened to the Enterprise A. And
no,
6,
do I? No, it's like either the trilogy or, you know, Star Trek 6. But and that ending is still one of the best Star Trek endings we've ever had in a movie. But it has been a little while, probably since last year at least.
Yeah, and I can't remember the last time I saw it. I'm sure recently, as far as the grand scheme of things, a year or two. But it is one of those things, you know, we watch Star Trek all the time and ad nauseum, and you're always like, well, you know, I'll watch it again. I'm familiar with it. But I'm just saying, I'm just gonna hot take. It's a really good movie. I mean, you know, like I
what?
You know, it seems
Don't
silly.
joke. You're leading you're bearing the lead here, Phil. That's to the end. We don't need to know that yet.
We're gonna do our ratings, right? And then also,
I've seen your rating, Philip. Can you see mine?
And also, I noticed new things, you know, and that's always a cool thing. I think that I'm just going to spoil. The thing I noticed this time around is for lack of a better word, the artwork. Literally, the artwork.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and again, I don't know if we all watched the same version, but there's a part where Valeris talks about Spock's painting that he has. Of being, you know, Adam and Eve being cast out. But if you watch the whole movie, all the Enterprise just has random works of art, like throughout the whole ship, which I think is an interesting touch, but I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, who would be in charge of that? Who? I mean,
Ship's artist. That's an officer. Do you not see them in the meetings?
Do we know if the Enterprise refit, the A, has more crew? Presumably, right? It's a bigger ship. It's gotten girthier, like we all have in our age. So you got to think it's got more people on it than just the original Enterprise, right?
I mean, look at that cooking staff.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I was sensing major space OSHA violations with that wall of buttons and ports and panels, and I'm like, in your kitchen where food is made? That seems like one sloshed sauce into that panel and it's going to cause all sorts of EPS conduits to blow out.
And I don't know about y'all. I always keep plenty of sidearms in my kitchen.
Well, you know.
Just in the wall.
You know, the descendant of Gordon Ramsay was like, I want to, you need a special phaser panel right here.
If someone wants to complain to the chef, they're like, shh, what would you like?
I mean, those are special cooking phasers. When you don't want to do the dishes,
right.
You shoot the pot, and just the pot disappears. None of the organic matter does.
See, I feel that. Okay. First off, just disclaimer, because we've talked about this movie before, and because we've seen it 1,000 times, this is non-linear. We're definitely just going to go kind of off the top of our head. There's no structure to this conversation, so literally, rabbit trails are welcome.
It's appreciation of Star Trek 6.
So this is a perfect place. I felt so bad for this poor guy that was mixing the mashed potatoes because she just comes in to do her little demonstration, and now he doesn't have a pot anymore. How do you clean that up?
I mean, that's how it's like. The Vulcan can't just answer you. She has to demonstrate. Although I was timing Starfleet security, they were a little late in getting to that room.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like. And then Lower's like, did somebody fire a phaser?
And then Scotty comes in. Like, why is everybody notified of this?
Yeah. Although I do love this movie as well, just for the Star Trek, the Next Generation-ness of all the sets.
I heard you in my ear, Darren. I'm like, I'm not going to look at every set and what it's redecorated as. I'm not going to be that person. But go ahead, Darren.
Well, because especially the dining room scene, I was like, is that from from the one we see? Then I'm like, well, it can't be because they blow it up. So it is
though. I mean, it has to be. I don't know if they blow up a miniature, but it looks like the demolition.
My guess is
looks really good.
Daniel blew up.
That wasn't me freezing this time. It wasn't me.
Yeah, my internet just went out. That's random. It never does that.
You could take your point from the top because all you said was you thought it was.
Yeah. See, the thing is, it's definitely the same set. And when they blew it up, I was like, wow, it looks like they blew it up, but I know they didn't. It must be a really good miniature or something. I'm not sure how they did that explosion scene. But it's definitely the same. It's the same curvature. The desk is the same. Like
I felt the curvature was sharper. Like it was more of a. But it's such a large. Like it's really big in the movie because they have a huge amount of people around a different table, obviously. So I don't know.
It made me think, and this can't be the explanation, but it made me think. It looks more like the First Contact observation because that First Contact had that nice, like you said, sharper bend. But it can't be, obviously, because it's like 10 years in the future.
Right.
But anyway.
But no, I liked all of the, I mean, they don't even try with the warp core. There's like, yes, this is the Enterprise A warp core. Totally not the Enterprise D warp core. But hey, you got a cool warp core, you're going to use it.
Well, this was 91, right? So this is season 3 of TNG at this point?
Actually, that's what I was just going to look up is when this took place because...
Yeah, because that was the funny thing when we were watching. I was watching with my wife, Jessica, and again, I don't know what y'all's version, but when you see Colonel West, I'm like, oh, it's Odo. And she's like, oh, was Deep Space Nine on? I'm like, yes. And then I had to look up and be like, no. So he actually, he was in Star Trek before he was in Star Trek. Because Deep Space Nine doesn't start until 93.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
So... Star Trek 6 was released in December 91.
Yeah, 91. Which means it was shot probably early 91 or even late 90. And so that's season 3. Yeah, that makes sense. And of course we get Worf playing his own answer.
Yes, Wolf, that's the answer. Wolf will help us.
Being
well, I'm just wondering
lawyer.
Because remember I think it's season 1 and 2 has the old conference room. Because it was like a redress of sick bay for a while, and then they finally built their own. So maybe after they blew it up, they rebuilt it. I don't know. The math, I'm not quite sure lines up on that, but yeah, Daniel, it's a character playing their ancestor. It's your favorite thing.
Boy, he looks exactly the same.
And same name.
Same name, Colonel. Well, he's got a different rank. So that's his grandfather, right? I assume it's not his father.
No, because his father's Moog.
Yeah, right. Well, we don't know what Worf's first. Oh, I guess I see what you're saying.
I mean, they say Son of Moog a lot, so I would assume.
Yeah. But I don't know. He's not a very good lawyer, and
I mean, the whole the whole trial. It's like he didn't have a lot to go on.
Yeah, that scene is amazing, though. By the way, the interrogation scene.
I think I was watching the extras on my DVD. It wasn't a Blu-ray DVD, and Chris Plummer, R.I.P. That's one of his favorite scenes because he could be more theatrical, of course. He didn't have to sit in a chair, and so he said that was one of his favorite scenes was to do the courtroom scene because you get to just yell the whole time.
I loved his, and I'm assuming it's a quote, or it's inspired by the moment during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So in the movie 13 Days, which talks about the Cuban Missile Crisis, there's a famous scene where they're in the UN and they're basically starting to put the screws back to the Soviets as like, hey, like we have proof here that you put missiles in Cuba. And he says like, don't wait, for the translation. Like I want an answer right now. And so I thought of that when you have the same thing by Christopher Plummer by Chang going like, don't wait for the translation. It was a very similar, vibe, but yeah, he's living large in that scene.
And I do. It's such a little thing, but I love it that you have the one Klingon that appreciates Bones' joke.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
and Bones has like the cutest, cutest smile.
It's great.
I only do it for the one guy in the room. That's why I tell the jokes.
Yeah, what was it? Besides a touch of arthritis, I'm
pretty good.
Pretty good. Oh. It's like that's Carl. That's Carl the Klingon. I'm like, Carl, shush. God, don't laugh at the humans.
That's one thing about this movie too that you don't think about like in the same way that we think about Star Trek 4, but it's a funny movie. Like there's a lot of really good humor in it.
Perhaps you know Russian epic Cinderella.
Yeah.
Shoe fit.
Well, and you have like Valeris talking about like, sabotage, which I'm now picturing if all of a sudden the music just kicked in like in Star Trek Beyond. It's like sabotage. All of a sudden, like out of the console, you're. It's like, wait, what?
Beastie Boys shows up. That'd be
Beastie
cool.
Boys.
Fine with that. Yeah.
Well, one thing I was thinking about when I was watching this movie is that, I think we're all agreed, but we don't have to be. When I think about the great Star Trek movies, at least that we think are First Contact, Star Trek 2, 4, maybe in the lower tier, but still. I think that
4 is always enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'll put it that way.
But I think this is unique among those, in my opinion, because I think this is the most story-centered one. Because I think a lot of the other ones are either character, because I think First Contact's more character-centered. Like, it's a very simple story. The Borg go back in time, want to stop time, Zefram Cochrane. But it's the characters, Zefram Cochrane, Picard, Data, the Borg Queen, the Borg. Like, that's very character. And I think 2 is just the classic chase of Khan and Kirk and all that. But this one is like, and not in a bad way, I think. It's so complex storylines.
It's a really good story.
Political thriller, and then this scene has to be where did they get the boots, and then this one is that he's done a secret, and you have to find the secret place where this, and like it's very complexly written. It's a very dense story. I mean, not the densest thing in the world, but I think it's very story, plot of any Star Trek movie, I think, and it's done very well.
And it's not even dependent really on, I was thinking about this as well. It's not like super sci-fi-y at all. It's literally a whodunit, like you say, political thriller, race to the clock thriller kind of movie. And it's like, it's just done so well. And it services the characters though, as well, even though it's not a character piece, like everybody gets something. Everybody has something to
kind of like Star Trek 4, which was more Mission Impossible-esque of everyone pairs off and has their own assignments,
And even
they each have something to do.
And
2.
Well, I was going to say even to tip my hat at the Kelvinverse, like Beyond, you did a good job of pairing characters up and having pieces.
And Beyond had unique pairings that we hadn't seen as much, like Chekhov and Kirk. Like that was really interesting. And and again, I was reading an article about Christopher Plummer and him, finally he had to be convinced to do this role. I mean, it wasn't like, oh yes, Star Trek, that's exactly what I want to do. But he really wanted to have his Klingon look different than Klingons had before. Like because he's kind of right. They all kind of look the same. And
how
so
racist,
him having
if you could even hear yourself
inalienable,
speak.
Darren. What are you saying?
horrible table manners.
Human rights. It's but I mean, we can all say like that General Chang, with the no hair and the eye
Wisp
patch
of
is
hair.
really iconic. Yeah, a little wisp at the back. But and it's just, you could tell he just loves that role and just chewed it up. I mean, it's very obvious that it's, U.S. and Russia, fall of the Cold War. You have the Chernobyl-ish disaster that forces peace talks, and it's very transparent in that regard.
Yes,
but
there was an incident on Praxis.
yeah, an incident.
No, we don't need any help.
Should we report this? Are you kidding? I mean, just the fact that it's quotable, like that, for me is often a mark of a good film. If I can quote it, or there's quotes that just come to you so quickly, that's a good sign. Like that doesn't have to be 100% quotable, but there's so many good lines. Like I keep thinking of, when Spock is like, Scotty, he's like, how's the warp drive doing? He's like, oh, all doing fine, sir. He's like, oh, no. What I'm saying, Mr. Scott, is if we go back and they get off this ship, we'll not ever see the captain again. He's like, could take weeks, sir. And it's just the blatant like banter is so, or they're talking about like their communication. And he's like, that's perfect. Or Chekhov is like, that's perfect. I mean, too bad. And it's just...
And again, I guess to the writing of it, and because they don't have to do this, but I think it's such elaborate writing in that they're almost explaining a lot of the mystery of, I mean, they're doing all the things that we would say as nerds. They're like, well, why can't they go back? Well, if we go back, they'll have to get off the ship and leave.
Right.
Or like, what would happen to the boots? What happened? Okay.
Which makes it feel more realistic.
Where's the blood?
Because
Or
they're
where's the-
actually, they're de-plot holing it right before our eyes. Because they're like, well, why didn't they just toss it in the refuse? Oh, I'm searching. Why didn't they toss it, in with the refuse? They're like, oh, I'm searching the refuse. It's like, dang, you so smart.
How do we know
Spock.
the assassin was on that ship? Well, either our database is wrong or someone, did something, and so, yeah.
I will say, there's like 4 points I want to go off of, but real quick, I was a little, and I guess I never really thought about it before, but the one disappointment in that, only in that I'm curious, is the 2 crewmen that were killed, the ones that actually beam over and do the assassinating. We never learn anything about them. We don't know who they are. We don't see them. Like, we don't know. They just, I guess, are evil, and we just gloss.
They're part of the
over it.
conspiracy, I guess.
Racist.
And it's just like, I'm like, oh, okay. But anyways, I want to go back to the setup, because it struck me, and I never thought of this before, but it strikes me how much this situation echoes what we now see in Star Trek lore with the Romulans. Like, there's some sort of event with our Cold War enemies that is catastrophic, and we try to help them, and maybe there's peace, and maybe there's not. But it's the same story, essentially, that happens in this movie.
Klingon lives.
And here's the thing, too. Star Trek 6 does take place before TNG, so it kind of counts as like a middle-quel. Because it's filling in gaps from stuff we didn't know. How did Worf end up? We never really found that out on TNG. Right. Like, how did Klingons end up as friends?
If you go from TOS to, or even early movies to TNG, you're like, something good must have happened because Worf's on the bridge, and other Klingons are kind of antagonistic to him, but there's peaceful relations.
Like the nerds,
there's not an active state of war.
The nerds are like, oh, you've defanged the Klingons, TNG. Why'd you do that? That's stupid. That's not what Klingons are.
Well, look, Worf's ancestor, who looks a lot like him, had this court case, and
you did very poorly.
I love Spock's line where he's like, to quote one of my ancestors, whatever when you remove whatever is, I'm not even gonna say the quote right, but he's basically quoting Sherlock Holmes, which is hilarious.
I thought that was a little disingenuous of Spock, because he spends the rest of the movie not counting himself as human and saying how insulting it is. But also Sherlock Holmes happens to be fictional, so I don't think that counts.
Is he, Daniel? I feel like we just established he wasn't. So
all right, fair enough.
Well, this is also the movie that gives us in the original Klingon quote. Yeah. So it's like I always wondered, I'm like, wait, what? Like, because Shakespeare was obviously a human. So
do you know?
What do you mean?
Do you know where that quote comes from? Like that's a. Obviously, it's a Earth quote. What it is, I mean, the reason I know this, I watched all the extras. The extras explain everything.
Oh, yeah, tell me, because I always kind of was unsure of what. Yeah. I mean, I kind of got what he was meaning. Well, but it was like
as Nick Meyer,
kind of weird.
Nick Meyer has some interviews in the featurettes. The Germans during World War II would claim Shakespeare as German. You have not understood Shakespeare if you've read the original German.
Even though he was obviously not from Germany.
Yeah.
But
as we know, the Nazis.
So it's the appropriation of. Yes. Oh wow, that's even worse.
well,
and then
Hitler,
right there,
1938.
Yeah, you get Kirk's, and Spock looks at him like, come on,
man. That scene too.
Kirk.
That scene is so well.
The dinner scene is so good.
It's so good,
and it's to me.
And they're trying, like Scotty, like his trying. Little, and Scotty's all like, maybe we're seeing some of that. Like they're trying really hard, but you can tell like none of them are ambassadors at all.
It's a sped up scene though. Like if I don't, this is not a complaint, but like it's like on ×2 that scene, because you can tell there's some edits because it's like awkward, super awkward, very awkward in like the space of like 30 seconds instead of like unnaturally would have been that bad where so. But no, I do love it. Yeah, you want to create that.
I was just thinking of that like just the little details where like in the beginning of the scene, the establishing shots, like all the Klingons are like looking at each other, trying to unfurl the napkin.
And the napkin rings is like, it's like throwing them out. They're like, this is different. Yeah, no, it's so good. That's probably, I mean, there's so many good scenes, but it's hard to top that scene. Like so much, it's so layered. Yeah, and you know exactly what he's saying without subtitles. And does this movie do that same thing too, where the Klingons start talking in Klingon, and then after a couple lines they're in English?
I feel again. I'm a small
or no. When he's on the ship, when he's on the Bird of Prey, he's only speaking Klingon except when he's talking to Kirk.
It's a small complaint. They are inconsistent in how they do it, or at least they do it in the wrong order. But whatever, I don't care. But like, because there's a part with Chang. And I'm trying to remember where he's speaking English, but there's later in the movie where he starts in Klingon, and I don't know if I'm thinking of like the trial scene where Chang starts in Klingon, then they go to the translator as the audience to let we're translating.
Oh, that's a good point.
And then it goes back into him speaking English.
Because he speaks which I think they do that. I don't recall the shot, but which makes sense because the majority of the trial he's speaking English because it's way more impactful than. But obviously he's technically not in world because they're holding the translator pods up to their ears.
And see, this is the thing, and it's I'm not going to knock the movie for it, but it's not just this movie that's inconsistent with it. It's all of Star Trek. We don't understand how the universal translator works or where it goes, or sometimes it's in the comm badge, sometimes it's in your ear. And it's just like in here, like you say, they do establish it in the courtroom scene, and they establish in the dinner scene. I'm pretty sure they say we'll use Federation standard or whatever. But it's like there are times where it's just like they just disregard it for whatever reason. So,
and I do like how on Rorpenthe they don't have the translator. And Kirk has that whole scene where he's talking to like, I'm sorry, they took away the translator.
But all those Klingons were speaking standard, I guess, or whatever we call it.
Maybe they had it before. It makes me always wonder, and this is a nerdy point, of course. In TOS, I think we see it once in TOS, the Universal Translator. It looks like a sonic screwdriver the one time we see it.
It's like a big rod.
But like, where is it the rest of the time in the show? And so I don't know what it would actually look like on them, Whereas the TNG, it's presumably the combat.
I've heard some people give criticism of this scene where Uhura and the crew are looking through books to translate Klingon because the universal translator will be detected, which that makes sense.
And they should have pads.
You know, that a signal can.
Here's the thing. It's funny too because I was watching with my girlfriend. She hem and hawed at that scene too. She's like, "Wait a minute. Okay, that's fine if they can't use their translator, but they have computers, right? They don't need to look at books." Like they could literally just type their whatever out, and that's
a good point. I didn't even think of that. I think the criticisms I've heard more though is that, I mean, especially with the newer movies, like the '09 movies, like that Uhura is this great linguist. Like, why would she not know Klingon?
Yeah, Uhura definitely should have.
I don't know if they've.
I mean, the scene's played for laughs, so
I don't think they've ever established Uhura as a linguist, though. Like, I think that's a Kelvin redoing.
It is a Kelvin thing, I think, but I think that's where it's one of those things, like, as communication officer, like, to not know it at all.
And really,
it's a little weird.
You got to give her a break because, like, 5 years before this, she started at square one. Like, she didn't know anything. All of her memory was wiped.
That's true. I mean, you're right. I like that. Look, she was supposed to be giving a lecture to Starfleet Academy like 3 weeks ago.
But it was a fun scene, though. I mean, you just the whole, like, and especially as they see the lower third saying what they're actually saying, and it's like mangled translation, and they're just like, ha ha ha, let's all laugh. Then take your button off the transmit, and they're just like, oh, so happy this is done.
I think my favorite is the Uhura, I'm done with this look at the very end of that scene.
She's so done with this. Well, and that's fun because that reminds me of like Star Trek 3 Uhura, where she's like with Captain Adventure in the closet, and it's just like Uhura's got sass,
you know.
Yeah,
like she was dancing and singing in the last one. What do you want? All right,
that's true.
Is she naked?
But well, yeah, and we also have a return of the Federation president before he was Anorax. As
wait, you say return? Was he in one of the other movies? I don't remember.
No.
Oh no! Okay.
Was it this the first time we see him?
Yeah, I think so.
Because in 4, it's the human, presumably human. I'm being speciest, but yeah,
human eating potatoes.
But well, in the end, I think talking about Chang and Plummer himself, I think what's interesting is the characters because we've often talked about. In anything, characters can get lost. Sorry, and for a second, I'm bleeding into my Doctor Who about guest stars taking over shows. But in this one, like the main guy is David Warner, is the Chancellor,
right?
And
he's great.
Like Chang is like on paper, just like the side thug, the sidekick. You always have the main guy. And then
you can tell he's the one that's actually been fighting Kirk for years.
But
like they've never met, but
they gave him like his own character. Like I know this is stupid to say, but he's not just the sidekick thug. I mean, he gets to be the lawyer, he gets to be on the Bird of Prey. But even before all that, he just gets to be the menacing presence, on the ship. And I do love how Kirk is so over Chang, even to his face at the end of the dinner. He's kind of like, okay. But you're a lot, aren't you? Have we not heard the chimes at midnight?
Yeah, because he's like so dramatic and he's like over the top, and Kirk is like Kirk seems tired in this movie. I think he's just like
let me know,
like kind of ready for retirement. Yeah, he's just like whatever. And I mean, and obviously he's working through his own demons and stuff. But it's so funny that like Khan would get a rise out of Kirk, right? And like these other people like that. But Chang is just like, he just feels, it's kind of like the Joker in Batman, where it's like one is so flamboyant and boisterous and over the top, and the other one is just like totally deadpan. It's like he doesn't care. I don't care about you, man. Like why are you like this? But and I was thinking about this. Chang has really 3 scenes. It's the dinner scene, it's the lawyer scene, and it's the end Bird of Prey attack scene. And he's not on screen that much, but he does so much with that small amount of time,
That's true. Well, and, like you said with David Warner, I mean, because he's only really in the first bit of the movie because he dies, but you can, but you can feel like in a way that role is more important in tone than Chang. Like if he doesn't sell... Because honestly, he's probably the best chancellor we've ever seen as far as like a rational person. Like every chancellor in TNG we've seen
Gowron,
yeah.
Martok.
Kempik's not
you don't
too
like Martok?
bad.
What's it for?
Okay, Martok. Yeah, that's true. maybe I'm just the Gowron years. Is Gowron like the Reagan? Is that what it is? Where it's all
The Thatcher.
It's all different.
I don't know that there's anybody that really relates to Gowron.
But he's like, of your house. but no, I like the Chancellor. And although I mean, I get it, but like, really, Kronos One, like Air Force One, like, is that what we're doing here?
Like
Is that what the Klingons are doing?
It's a great line, but the giving away the game part of it, where Chang's like, in space, all warriors are cold ones. Yeah, the Cold War. We got it, Chang. We got what we're doing here. we all figured it out. Gorkon, Gorbachev. We got it. We got it.
Like, all he was missing was like a blood stain on his forehead when he's dying, and it's like, is it a little too parallel? I don't know.
I was thinking too, like, I wish we didn't really get a sense. I wish there was one scene between, like, maybe an establishing scene before they get to the rendezvous with the Enterprise, where it's Gorkon and Chang to get like they like to, because
what is their dynamic?
They're both big presences, and they're like their philosophical differences are very significant to the movie, and you could have easily been like, oh, Chang, I've known you for 30 years, and you're always, shooting off at the hip and blah 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 blah.
Right. Or you could get the sense. I mean, we know what Gorkon thinks, but yeah, it's like, what is Chang's, like, is Chang like, I don't think we should be doing this, or I oppose this for this reason, like, because he would only really voice that to the Chancellor. He wouldn't say that to his subordinates.
Also,
but yeah, that would have been a fun scene. I wonder if.
And speaking of scenes we didn't see, and this isn't a critique, but one wonders, what was the Zoom call between Chang, Lieutenant Valeris, Admiral Cartwright, the Romulan ambassador? Like, how did that get started? Like, man, you know what?
And Major West.
This peace thing, Colonel West, yeah. This peace thing sucks. We should really organize. Who do you know? How did that get organized?
So is he cut out entirely from the movie in the regular version? Because I don't remember him, and I just
think
watched
so.
the movie.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Well, because do they do the face reveal in the regular movie? Because the version I watched, they reveal that he's the Klingon
that's Scotty
that shoots at the Chancellor at the end. Yeah, that Scotty gets, because like at the very end they pull off the mask and they're like, this is Red Blood. It's Colonel West, And
I think maybe they take.
Did you guys watch the director's cut?
I watched the special collector's edition, which I assume is the one thing which I think has everything, because I remember you see Colonel West. The only thing I didn't like about it that I think I'm glad they changed in the regular version. Yes, that's exactly what Darren's holding up is what I watched. The one thing I don't like it's in this version is in the Valeris mind meld scene. There's a part where she's revealing the names. And in the regular movie, in my mind, it goes like, Admiral Cartwright, Romulan ambassador. And the special collectors are like, in case you don't know who everyone is, we're going to flash their picture.
That's true.
And I was like, we don't need that.
It's like black and white.
It's like, Admiral Cartwright. Admiral Cartwright, the Romulan ambassador, the Romulan ambassador. Yeah, we know. We were paying attention.
Okay,
so you're saying that wasn't in your version, Daniel?
No. And
the flash.
I'm gonna double check right now, but because I don't remember anything about. I've seen the scene before, but not because I was gonna watch. So I was watching it on Amazon Prime, and I was gonna watch the director's cut, but it was $4, and the regular version was free. So
yeah, I watched a digitized version of this. I've ripped these to my computer, so that's probably what I was watching.
Yeah, so I don't think he's in the actual theatrical cut.
Yeah, I think
because we see him in the boardroom scene.
I think they cut that scene.
At Starfleet.
Yeah, I think they cut the rescue scene.
Yeah,
in the regular movie.
Yeah. So now that you brought it up, though, Philip, I think that we should talk about the most troublesome, difficult scene, maybe I would say, which for me at least, which is the mind meld. How do we
troubling scene?
The troubling scene.
Well, it's interesting, and I don't know if this is because of the different movie edition or just I don't remember it, because I feel like in the regular movie it's just focused on her and Spock, whereas watching it this time, all the characters
they cut away.
All the characters
they're all
reacting to how bad it is. Like Scotty's reacting to how bad it is. Her is reacting to like they all see.
They're starting to cringe away.
And I think that
like this is bad.
And I think that helps alleviate the badness, if you will. Whereas it just looks like Spock's just like mind raping her to use term, I suppose. But but I think when all the characters are like, oh no, this isn't good, and I don't know. She's a bad person.
There is a little bit of it. I mean, it does happen. It is mostly kind of the camera kind of pans around them, but it does cut to the other characters. The problem is you don't want your hero characters to do this sort of thing. And right. Like you understand, I mean, obviously we understand like in the circumstances but it's like there are some lines you don't cross, right? That's kind of like what we believe as people.
Well, I think if I don't know if it was in the script or if it was Kim. I think if she had take that reaction, do it by like a 3/4. I think that probably wouldn't have been a big deal. It's sort of doing a
Well, I feel this is like the counterpoint to the reveal in sickbay scene where we see a lot of emotion in Spock where he like, logically you must fire. And then you could just see the anger on his face and he just knocks the phaser out of her hand. Like he's pissed because he's like, you were my protege, you were going to replace me. And like, you just threw it all away.
So it's interesting because one of the things that I tracked this watch through was his sort of mentoring of that character, because he would kind of be like leading the bridge crew by the nose of like, okay, right, what's our next step, or what does that mean, and like how are we going to do this next? And then he'd look at Valeris and she'd be like, oh, 2 pairs of gravity boots or whatever, and like the movie does set up, and obviously it would work better. I think the original idea was this was supposed to be Saavik, right?
Right.
And
that it was supposed to be Saavik.
And that would make more sense and would work better, but obviously it didn't work. But anyways.
I see. Meaning that she's this character we know and trust and that she betrayed us.
In some ways, I'm glad it's
I'm kind of glad it wasn't. I mean,
I can see there's different dynamics because like she knows Saavik, knows David. And so I think, and she's half Romulan and I don't know. It's different if it's
Either way, like it's tough for me to watch that scene.
Yeah,
because it's just, I mean, it is like, it is what you say, Philip, and it's just like you don't want the people you care about to do those sorts of things to other people. So, and of course, obviously, even though Valeris did a terrible, awful, terrible thing, shouldn't be doing those sorts of things. But anyways, it's just tough. Yeah. So I don't like that scene, and it's tough to watch.
Well, and we haven't spoken of it yet, but we also get Captain Sulu on the Excelsior. And
Captain Sulu on assignment.
And he gets quite a few scenes, where he's working with his crew and, and also the very beginning, which that's a little off for me just because they have that time jump, which they don't communicate super well, that the event of Praxis Destroyed is like a little bit before we jump to the meeting room scene. Yeah. But but they put him, I think it's a great way of involving him, but not having him be on the Enterprise and having his character have progressed.
And we get to see where he's being chased by, I think, Kor in the Nebula, and then one of his people die, and then that alien being goes into Tuvok. And did you not watch that cut?
Oh,
did you not the flashback cut of this movie? No. Oh.
Well, I think it'd be funny if it's been a while since I watched that one. Was that like what, Flashback or Flashpoint?
Flashback, yeah.
I need to watch. Does that take place in the events during Star Trek 6?
Because
okay, I it's been a long time since I've watched.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, because Tuvok.
I didn't realize it was that event.
Tuvok's questioning why Captain Sulu is disobeying orders, trying to search for his friends.
Oh wait! Tuvok himself was supposed to be on the Excelsior at that point, right?
Ensign Tuvok.
And Tim Russ. Yeah. What? Tim Russ showed up at some point?
He was on the Enterprise B as a human.
That's
as
what
a
it
human.
Was. That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. I knew he was on the big fat ship, but I couldn't remember.
See, I would have loved. This is the one little part I wish they had put in, which just some little moment where it's just implied that Sulu doesn't want Scotty on the Excelsior ever. Like he just doesn't trust him around the ship. Like, not that he ever thinks he'd do anything, but he's like, you've messed with this ship before, so
they don't trust you on here.
Yeah, it's like, that's all right, Scotty. We're good. Like, I'll have my own engineers do that upgrade or whatever,
Now,
but
speaking of Excelsior crew, My wife, she did not know this was going to happen, but we're watching the movie, the credits are rolling, and then the caster or the casting person shows up in the credits. And she's like, "Oh, you know who that is?" And I was like, "It'll become important later. Hold on," because of course the casting person is Mary Jo Slater.
Is that? I assume there's a relation there.
That is Christian Slater's mother. Yes.
Oh, mother. Interesting.
No.
But he's a big fan, I think, right? I'm pretty sure he's a big Star Trek
I'm sure that's what he told her. Yes.
I don't think at the time his career was hurting. Well, maybe that was when he was in trouble. I'm not sure, but
I was waiting for him to ask why how you can have a yellow alert in space dock, but no, it's a different guy.
Oh yeah, I see that right here on Memory Alpha, where it talks about that Rand was supposed to be the one waking Sulu to inform him that Starfleet was looking for the Enterprise, but Christian Slater's character, because that's like the only scene he's in, right? It's just that scene.
We do see Rand.
Yeah, she's in there.
She's on the bridge.
Yeah. Right.
And she's also at the beginning where she's the one who says, like, should we report this? And he's like, are you kidding or joking? Yeah, no, it's
and also a very interesting setup for the Excelsior to have like the coffee table on the bridge. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying we don't get many tables.
I'm hoping it like retracts into the ground or something when like red alert happens, so that they can walk around freely.
Janeway had one, right? They had like a little platform that they could use between.
Well, they had the little like where they had the coach captaincy, seating arrangement.
Because this is very down the rabbit hole. Someone posted on Twitter, as want to do, some of the early sketches of the Enterprise D bridge, and that command part, with the three chairs, was more like it was sort of like combination of what we know as the Enterprise D bridge, but there's like a conference table like right there. So it's almost like, we're going to command here, and we're also going to have our meetings here. Like it was just like the coffee table in front of those three chairs, which I thought was.
Oh, that's right. You're talking about the original D design, which looked way different.
Well, it's funny. Sorry, this is random. Because the helm and ops look odd, but then I think that's what it eventually became. Like it's almost the Enterprise E, or kind of because it's more of like the shell, front instead of just like our little wraparound, tab that we have in TNG. But like that's normally what we would come to by first contact and everything, to have that more shell configuration for those two stations.
Well, and we kind of had that on the Defiant and the NX-01, where they had the little conference table at the back of the bridge. They rarely used it, but it was there.
Mm-hmm. Well, and if you think about engineering, that's got a conference table right there. What do they call it? Didn't they have a special name?
Oh, probably.
Shoot, I can't remember.
The briefing nook. But
it also, it also made me think at the beginning of the movie, like what in our head canon, how is this happening? In other words, it seems like they're all have lives. They're getting ready to wrap up everything. Scotty bought a boat. But then they go to the Enterprise. But it's almost like...
How did he buy it? With what money did he buy a boat?
It's a Ferengi boat.
Okay.
But anyway, they go to the Enterprise, but it's like they haven't been there, which is fine. I'm just trying to so the Enterprise has just been in dock for 3 months or something, getting ready to decommission. So they just sort of all, get back on there.
Well, decommission the crew or decommission the ship? Because I was a little confused because they
used it
at the very end. Because in the end, Kirk's log is about soon this ship will have a new crew and a new, adventures, and then they fly into the star.
Yeah. So what confused me more about this too was why did the whole beginning scene with the conference room on Earth, I guess. Why bring the whole bridge crew? There's no feasible possible way that a top secret mission would be discussed with the entire bridge crew.
I assume as senior officers. I mean, I agree.
Yeah, but even then,
well, Kirk just went, "I need him," a lot, and so they're like, "Okay, sure, Kirk."
Even then, because they even asked Kirk, "Isn't this just for top brass?" He's like, "Oh,
right."
He just shakes his
I mean, they take up half the freaking table. It's like all the top brass and the Enterprise bridge crew.
Well, of course, we all are older than the top brass. But I this isn't a critique, but I do love we have to believe none of the characters have paid attention to any other character. Like Kirk's like, or who is it? Like, where's Sulu? Or Bukoy, Sulu. You don't know Bukoy. You didn't hear he got captain and got command of the Excelsior like 3 years ago. Like you didn't hear that. You haven't been.
We've
wondering?
been talking about it. We all went to the ceremony. Like, are you kidding?
Remember, he had to give the word, and we all clapped afterwards. You don't remember that?
I did think it was interesting. There are some actually really interesting aspects of Star Trek universe building that we've not seen a lot of. And one of the things was I like that beginning scene. We see we get introduced to a character that they call CNC, which I assume is Commander in Chief. It has to be, although I guess it's not like America where
that's right. They're the CNC, and I'm like, they're carving wood. What?
No, you're right.
What's going on?
So there is some sort of I guess the person that's totally at the top of the Starfleet chain of command,
right.
Other than the president,
the flag admiral or whatever
right.
You might call
who
him.
we never see or hear from again. But that was interesting. I thought that was neat. And another aspect that I really, really appreciated was during the mystery whodunit part was like really delving into sort of like the daily like life of the average dude, like you know, like between the mess and like going through people's lockers. Like we don't get to see that
Uniforms.
sort of
uniform.
We see more of the inside of the ship in this movie than like any movie before.
yeah. So I just really like that.
It's like every uniform, and it's like that's a good point. Like there's a lot of uniforms on a
Glad
ship.
we don't just replicate these.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
Some guy's got like a metal
easily.
detector. He's going down the hallway. Like,
Yep.
Hey, get back on the Star Wars movie, you.
But I love also how, and I love the shot when they're looking behind the panel, and it's in the TNG era, like, corridor, but you see him pull off the panel and he turns with the panel towards the camera, and on the back you could totally see like a Sharpie line of like, this panel should be this tall by this tall, like from the person whoever manufactured it. And I'm like, oh, that's no goes nowhere, does nothing label. But but they're also in such a rush. It's like, you know, they're tripping over each other to find this stuff. And
I don't feel like they're scanning and really. I mean, that's how I
it's
scan.
funny, though. No, but they're in the room, and I love how. So, like, you know, they're checking the closets and stuff, and we see the character, and we follow him as this guy walks in. Immediately walks over to the chest of drawers and starts furiously opening them. And it's like, are you the drawer guy? Do you go to like all the rooms?
It also made me imagine what room that was, because it seemed like there are like 20 people in this one room. Like,
there were so many
is that some guy's quarters or something? Like, wow.
And I kind of get also the fact that apparently they were like pairing up or things like that, which makes sense because, as they point out, like the trader's still here, so we can't just have individuals searching. Yeah. But it's a great sequence. But
note to shit Scally.
Yeah, it's because all the lower decks guys, you know, we get to see them doing their thing.
Lower decks guys before they were cool.
Yeah.
I mean, just this could, like, you do your Enterprise A RPG, you could work in the mess hall, work in the,
or you also have the you know, when they're trying to trap Valeris, where they have the now hear this over the hole, and you see I love the stewards who are like setting the dining table, and I don't know, it makes you kind of think like, so are you an officer, or like how do you enlisted. Get that role on enlisted? I don't know anything about the military, Phillips. You got to tell me. Like, who are the people that set the dining table?
And stewards. Okay. Well, like for instance, crewman Daniels was Captain Archer's steward, if you remember.
Oh, that's true. Well, he was also time man, but you know,
who among us? Well, I also like.
But yeah, you see like bunk beds. You see like, okay, you know, it's a lot of lower deck shots.
How come they're not in the hallway?
You know, an interesting point that this movie touches on is in that whole scene when in the beginning when they're talking with the CNC guy and stuff, they're suggesting and definitely almost outright saying, when they're like, "Oh, this will be the end of Starfleet," and he's like, "Well, not the Research and Sciences division," and like
blue
basically
shirts, saying,
yeah,
and like, wait a minute, I thought this was primarily a peacekeeping humanitarian armada.
I know.
Well, it is now.
What if we just promise to turn off our phasers? Can we just keep all the ships? Is that all we got to do?
But Kirk's like big worry is literally that Starfleet will stop to function as a military unit, I guess. And
again, with the whole Cold War thing, it's very implied that like Starfleet is there because we're in a Cold War with the Klingons, right. And if we didn't have a ton of ships, yes, we're exploring, but if we don't have the ship power, they are going to invade us, and that's the doctrine.
And sort of, as I have to force my brain to do it, whether I like it or not, fitting this into the entire, as we now know, of Star Trek. So, like, I think about like Discovery. I think we would agree Starfleet became very militaristic during Discovery, necessarily right. So, right? And so maybe there are times where Starfleet, and we don't know, I mean, other than 5, what does Star Trek 5 tell us about anything? But, like, we don't know the way Starfleet is in this time period. Maybe they are very, in some ways, because of the Klingons, you got the Romulans, you got, they're all everywhere.
Look, the science ships, they get Obriths. And like those little, nobody wants those ships anyway.
Because maybe, and again, I'm making the world up here. Maybe the peace with the Klingons dramatically changed Starfleet in many ways.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah,
and repurposes it more towards like the next gen era, where it's a lot more explanation.
Yeah. And I'm fine with that, except TOS itself also sometimes represents Starfleet as an explorer. I mean, like. The 5-year mission has nothing to do with peacekeeping, or I mean, of course they run into missions where they have to go to the neutral zone or whatever and stuff like that. But it's fine. It's just another notch in that sort of conversation, the ongoing conversation that we always have about what is Starfleet exactly and what is its primary function and what is a rubber duck. That's a different thing.
Yeah. Well, and just a quick point out from what we talked about last week. This, of course, was screened for Gene Roddenberry, who died shortly thereafter. So when he died. This is the first movie to come out after Gene Roddenberry died.
Well, and we haven't talked at all about the end scene, the end battle, where you get a lot of like Z-axis firing and shooting, and it's a pretty good battle. Like, I mean, we love that exploding bird of prey shot so much, we use it as much as possible. Anytime a bird of prey gets destroyed, that's the shot we use.
Is it used in Voyager? Because I'm almost certain it's used in Deep Space Nine. I can't remember.
I know it's used in Generations.
Obviously, in Bad
it's
Light,
definitely used in TNG. And I'm almost positive it's used in Deep Space
You can tell because you have the main body explosion and then the head kind of shoots off and then explodes. Like, it's really notable. But I've always wanted to make like the prop of the button, because it's such a tight, close shot where he's just like, no, like, shoot it again. And then it's that one Klingon on the back who's like, I push button, shoot Enterprise.
You always feel like that there should be more involved with shooting a torpedo. Like, is there like a safety?
Yeah, while cloaked.
Safety thing be put over? I mean, not on a Klingon ship. I get
it.
But like,
No.
Yeah. Feel like, oh, whoops.
So there's two problems I have. And I suspend my disbelief for the movie because it's a great movie and it's fun. But it's this idea of forgotten technology. Like, even if this was the prototype, it worked, and there's no possible way they didn't have plans for this sort of thing. This would change the dynamic of everything. Like, if you could have a...
Oh, that's Daniel? I mean, the thing had a tailpipe.
But that's true. I mean, I like how it's the prototype, and there's only one, and it's like... Because, that would totally change the balance of power.
According to the Kittimer Peace Accords, you're not allowed to make birds of prey that fire.
We're not allowed. We're not allowed. And that has hamstrung us for the last 50 years, Riker.
The other thing, too, is, like, there's no possible way that their computers aren't smart enough to be like, oh, a torpedo just appeared right here from this and it's going in this direction.
Computers can't tell vectors in space. What are you talking about?
Just shoot in that area. Go. You'll be fine.
No, it's very much like, oh, look, it's fine. We finally hit it. Target that explosion. Well, you couldn't have targeted where the torpedo came from? Because I think you could have done that. Yeah. But
you could literally...
I agree.
Yeah. But it's fine. It is fine. It's fine because it adds to the tension of the scenes and stuff like that. And of course, oh man, like one of the funniest bits is I love when McCoy and Spock are working on the torpedo together. He's like, I'd give real money if he'd just shut up.
Well, McCoy gets to do his fascinating.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I do like. I mean, talking about that, this being the end for the TOS franchise, of that. Even as someone who my fandom was first TOS movies, and then TNG, and then I found the actual TOS series. I do like how this movie, in many ways, celebrates the actual TV show. You have like the fascinating. You have Kirk getting making out with Amon, and McCoy's like, "What is it with you anyway?" It's just there's just like these little touches of what we've been throughout the series.
Yeah, and like you were mentioning earlier, Philip, like it's not a character story at all. Like these people are doing stuff based on the plot, but it does feel like everybody gets something to do, and like everybody ends up in a good place kind of at the end. Like, so like even though it doesn't, in a lot of ways, like something like not best of both worlds. Oh God, TNG last episode.
All good
Nemesis.
things.
All good things.
All good things.
Like All Good Things is a celebration of that characters and all of that. This doesn't in the same way feel that way. It actually feels more like they're just telling a story and everybody ends up in a good place at the end, but you still get emotional. Like at the end, you're like when the comms comes through to like go to Starbase to be decommissioned, you're like, oh, I don't want that. That's terrible. And like it's triumphant that they go out there and disobey orders for one last time. I guess these people never suffer the consequences, but so I just like it's it is a great ending for the characters, and we'll never see any of them again.
Well, it's like my wife was like, "Wait, there's one more movie." I'm like, "Well, I mean, no." She's like, yeah, "I mean, like Kirk." So, well, there is one more movie. I'm like, "Well, I mean, okay, yes, fine. What do you want from me?"
But yeah, no, it's I need to watch this at least once a year. It's a great film. It's a great story. It's well acted. Like, I mean, our nitpicks are tiny and here or there, but overall it's a solid story and it feels like a movie story.
Yeah, big
you know what I mean?
screen,
Like it doesn't feel like, oh, we took a Star Trek episode and we just told it in 90 minutes or whatever. No, this is the story. I wouldn't want to watch this story on TOS. I would want to watch this on the screen.
And it's a positive story. It's a story of optimism overcoming basically racism, of hope overcoming like this of war. So it's like it is a Star Trek story like through and through, and that's what makes it so good. And the universe isn't at stake.
It's true.
We don't have to worry about everything exploding. It's like
and like Philip said, I like that it is more plot focused than character focused, because I mean we can all agree or disagree, but like some of the older ones, especially 5 and some of the others, where like it becomes the I'm an old man like story, like that's the underlying plot and everything, and we're like, we get it, but this was more fun.
I mean, like because you have, I think that it's a very I mean you can, your mileage may vary, but I do love that moment because at least in the lore, Leonard Nimoy has said that this is him talking to Bill Shatner, not just Spock talking to Kirk. Have we two grown so old, so inflexible? I think that's about as much commentary you get about their age, other than firing. So.
Yeah, and of course the theme of like people are afraid of change, and generally older people are more afraid of change.
Yeah, Chang was very scary. Oh, you said change.
He had an eye patch. It was bolted to his skull. So I mean, we've kind of been wrapping up here, but Philip, just closing thoughts on Star Trek 6: The Undiscovered Country, and of course on the great performance by Christopher Plummer for Chang.
Yeah, I think he just, I mean, this is going to sound silly. He commits to the role. I mean, people say like he's hamming it up, and surely he is. But I mean, he like even in that little scene of where he's struggling with the napkin. I mean, that's a character choice as Chang, and the way he moves is very solid, and it's just a very deliberate. And he's obviously, even though may have taken some convincing, and been told you can yell as much Shakespeare as you want. He did it well, and I think it's a movie that stands up. On the featurettes, one of the featurettes is like, I love it, and not everyone else may appreciate it. There's like a 30-minute featurette that's really just about diplomacy, the Cold War, like very little to do with Star Trek, and as much as what the story's about. But Nick Meyer, who's obviously pretty brilliant, Star Trek 2, to a degree, Star Trek 3, Star Trek 6. It's just a solid Star Trek movie. It's in the pantheon of the top Star Trek movies.
Yeah, what do you think, Darren, as well?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily use this to introduce Star Trek to somebody, although it could work as like a substitute of TOS, like to get just the vibe feel before, if someone wasn't really interested at all in TOS and they didn't really want to watch any of it, it's pretty, you get the gist of all the characters pretty well. But yeah, just well-written villains, smart villains that make good choices. And at the end of the day, it's the combined efforts of our heroes that outdo them, not the fact that they made a mistake. So that's a good story right there. So, and you get a little Shakespeare thrown in, and no, great film, always enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, I'm always saddened that TNG didn't get its Undiscovered Country, but maybe in the future, maybe Picard season 2. Probably not. Probably. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Well, when Captain Worf becomes a thing, it's totally.
Look! I'm saying Captain Sulu got to have his own series. It's like, why can't Captain Worf have his own?
Although theoretically, I think at this point in Picard, Worf is on. It's kind of implied that Worf is captaining the Enterprise E or whatever Enterprise.
Apparently,
is
governor of
right
Hottoria, a small Klingon colony near the border.
Anyway,
is that what's stated?
No,
I can't recall.
That's not.
Oh, that's right.
That's not what we're talking about now. So, anyways, I love the movie. It is tied, or maybe my favorite TOS movie. It's so good, and it's so much fun to watch. And it's just a great mystery political thriller whodunit, exciting movie to watch from start to beginning. It's fun. It's never too heavy. It's except for maybe the one scene, but it's just I just love this movie, and Christopher Plummer did a great job being a very memorable villain, and a formidable foe for Captain Kirk. So it was quite enjoyable. But that is not what we'll be talking about next week. That'll be a surprise. I don't think anybody really knows what we're talking about next week. But Darren, if people want to get hold of you, find out which eye would you wear your patch on, how would they get hold of you?
Both eyes. I'm so hardcore Klingon. It's not even funny. And to answer your question, next week, as it is my week, we are delving back into the world of, is it that bad? Oh. And we'll leave you at that.
Oh, probably. It's probably going to be that bad. Oh, so we're watching Star Trek 5 again. Okay.
Oh. No, I'm not that cool.
Is it still that bad series?
But yes, people can find me on drsci-fi.com.
And Philip, if people wanted to know, is Romulan Ale that illegal? How would they find you?
Note to podcast, Romulan Ale no longer to be served during recordings. They can find me at NC Public Servant on Twitter.
And if people wanted to get a hold of me to find out why the Excelsior actually has the worst nacelles in all of Star Trek, they can find me on Twitter at OneUpDan. That's the number 1, not the word.
Not so big as our captain, I think.
They are big, though. They are very big. Anyways, they're pencil nacelles because they're very long, very thin. You can catch us next week. I'm Daniel Prue.
I'm Philip Gelfus.
I'm Darren Moser.
Stranded here on Sandy Alpha 3.